Welcome back, and today we're going to be reviewing the brand new Chaves Redencion. This right here is a Blade HQ exclusive. They're on pre-order right now. The pre-order down payment's I think $5. That secures you a spot on the pre-order list. I'm pretty certain they're in production right now. I don't think they're going to be that long. And to my knowledge, this is the most affordable Chaves so far. As far as pocket knives, they do have, I think, the Chub or something that's a little cheaper than this in the black label or whatever. But as far as I know, this is the cheapest Chaves knife. So it comes in two different variations. You have this drop point right here. You can get it in a stonewash blade or a black blade, or you can get it in his hybrid Tonto right here. Also, either stonewash or black coated blade as well. Now, for all my OG followers, we're doing a little bit of the old school testing, if you know what I mean. Stick around, you're not going to want to miss it. Now, being that I did the majority of the testing with this one and carried this one the most, this is the one I'm going to mainly be talking about. I think it's a great size for EDC at 7.28 inches long. It has a 3.2 inch drop point blade or Tonto blade, and these are in D2 steel. I know I'm going to have some keyboard warriors in the comments. I hate D2. D2's the worst steel ever. If that's what you think, you might want to stick around for this one. I love that raw stonewash finish. Got a nice top swedge that comes down to thin the tip out some, so it's not overly thick, but it's not overly thin either. You have the wide space jimps that Chaves is known for, and even though I would have much preferred finer cut jimping, this one actually does grip the thumb nicely, and it's not overly aggressive to where it's super uncomfortable or anything. And if I'm saying that, then you know you should be able to handle it. You have dual thumb studs that stay out of the cutting path, as you can see there. You have the Chaves logo right there. Well, when it comes to a Chaves knife, you know, we all know they're usually beefed up bruisers. So this one's kind of like a hybrid of that. So you have some beefed up things on this knife, but your blade stock thickness is actually pretty darn thin at 0.10. That's like Benchmade bug out thin. And it has a flat grind on this one that comes down to around 22 thousandths, and this particular knife is sharpened to 24 degrees per side. I'm very interested to see how it's going to perform. Let's find out. The knife came with a good edge. I was interested to see how it was going to perform. You know, the fact that you have thin blade stock, I think it's like 0.10, is going to help it to be a better slicer. Now, the geometry is not as thin as, you know, some Civivis. I think it's like 24 thousandths behind the edge, or 22, something like that. And, no, it's like more like 22. And the edge bevel on this one is set at 24 degrees per side, which is common pretty much every production knife, it seems like, especially overseas produced, are at like 24, 26. I don't know why, but they don't want to get as many returns. I think that's the case. But it's slicing really well. It does have more belly than I wish it did, but that's okay. I did slide out several times, but it's because I was trying to rush. Once I slowed down, I had no issues. Now we're testing to see how that edge wants to bite into the wood. As you can see, it's peeling that like an apple. Then we test the ergos by increasing pressure more and more. And I gotta say, you know, these the aluminum scales, the chamfers are nice and comfortable. I was able to get a good bit of force into the wood comfortably. I mean, you know, of course, there's some areas that could be knocked down to make it even more comfortable, but I'd say, you know, for the type of knife it is, I think it's perfectly fine. That belly's really going to shine doing these cuts on a flat cutting surface, and my edge has a good bit of bite to it. It's been a while since we had the glue episode again in my Sisal rope, and I found out, you know, what it's used for. They use the glue to glue down the end pieces of the rope so it doesn't come unraveled, but I'm sure they're doing it very fast, and they probably just throw a big glob of that glue on there, and sometimes it gets all the way down the side of it, causing the issues we had before. But this one just ran into it, I think 3 or 4 times, but it handled it like a champ. I have had some knives blunt after running it through that hard glue It feels, when you're hitting it, it feels like you're cutting through a brick. But yeah, nice, doing like a rocking motion cut, not really sawing it, not really push cutting it, but just a little rocking motion, and that's the beauty of a bigger belly. Or at least that's something that it's really going to shine at. Now, I just decided to test the drop point. That's just my choice. That was just my choice there. But the Tonto, it has belly up front. It would have probably been easier. I'm sure it's not as thin though. And I want to show you, you can use that tip. Probably just going to be easier to use the belly to do a drag cut like that. But like if you need to make a precision cut, then just use that tip. You don't have to go up to a 90-degree angle or nothing. Cut some extra stuff just because it was performing really well. And we're going to take it back old school after we finish this with the Tonto, just so I can do a little testing on that. We had a lot of fun with that one. But yeah, so far this one, I thought it performed great. I don't have anything against D2. I know some people do, but those people usually don't test their knives or use their knives. So that's that. Who remembers this OG test? This is a copper wire, like home copper wire with the 3 strands. And look at this, one shot. I mean, not only did it do great, and this is why I like D2. Look at that. There's absolutely no glinting to that edge whatsoever. I've had so many knives, so many. I've had crewware get all bent up doing that. Now, we smacked this thing. Be quiet. We smacked it so hard, look, we bend the rod. That's a first. But yeah, handled it like a champ. Absolutely no glinting on that edge yet. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I know some, like I said, some 14C, some other D2 that didn't fare so well. Now, we're not, if I wanted to, I could definitely break the tip. It's just somewhat reinforced. It's a good piercer. So's the drop point. We do a little bit of harder side-to-side motion toward the end. I'm just being very careful because I couldn't find my Kevlar gloves. And if you're going to stab down, you want to make sure that lock fails. It's not going to come down your fingers. So you want to stab down in a way that the handle's moving in a direction that it won't fold on you. So I'm definitely being mindful of that. For the most part, I have my thumb resting on the top of the scales, but I gotta say, these gloves are kind of grippy. I had a really solid grip, not a lot of shock in the handle, and I was able to get a pretty good I was getting good penetration in the beginning. But yeah, this is where I start kind of increasing that pressure some. Just having a little fun like back in the day. Hope y'all enjoyed it, all my OG supporters. We used to do this all the time, but no longer have my shop, doing this in my garage where it's like 110 degrees in there. So very limited. I'm not usually supposed to be doing that kind of stuff. And for all my D2 naysayers out there, I mean, I think it speaks for itself. I've never had an issue with D2 steel. Unless it had a poor heat treat, and these don't, I've had nothing but good experiences with them. And theoretically, D2, even though I prefer 14C and Nitro V just because of its stainless properties and the toughness on it, if D2's heat treated properly, it should be at a cut longer than 14C and Nitro V, I believe. But being that I live in Satan's den here in the South, and we have the worst humidity, D2 has a tendency to rust. As long as you keep it protected though, you should be fine. Now let's touch on the ergos real quick. Now for the most part, it was really comfortable. You have flat aluminum scales here, no crazy choils or anything. You got nice chamfers going all the way around. But just like always, whenever I was really squeezing hard, bearing down into the wood, that's when you'll notice any kind of discomfort from a handle. And the only thing I really noticed is the inside of these aluminum scales. Let's see if I can show you this. See that right there? Now, it's not as sharp as it looks there, but you do have a hard edge right there. When you're bearing down and the fat of your fingers is lodged in there, it can start to get a little uncomfortable. Now, that was only whenever I was putting everything I had into it. You got a nice hard anodized coating on this aluminum frame. T8 construction everywhere, even your thumb studs. Great job. Aluminum backspacer right here. It's kind of dirty in there, but as you can see, you have a partial inset stainless steel liner. on the top and bottom to just give this aluminum some more rigidity while also being able to lighten it up some. Bringing the weight on this drop point version to 3.63 ounces. The Tonto just a hair heavier at 3.67 ounces. Now, my biggest complaint on this knife is the fact that you have dual thumb studs and ambidextrous lock, but your pocket clip is only tip up right hand carry. Never ever will understand that. You're secluding a whole part of the market. So sorry lefties, I didn't design it. And let's close it up. You have the signature skull clip. Now, if you love the knife but you hate the clip, you're in luck because each knife comes with the skull clip and this plain clip. Those are stainless steel clips. I will say they function excellently. You got some spring to them and enough tension that with this smooth aluminum, it's not going to go sliding out of the pocket. I was actually surprised on how well this clip performs because I've had some stainless clips that were just so tight. So it goes over the lip of my pants perfectly, and that's what you have sticking out. Enough to grab a hold to where those screws are, pull it out the pocket. Your different grips on this, the pinch grip is comfortable. Now this grip is okay, but this part of the scales kind of sticks into my palm right there. I can kind of choke up a little bit and miss that, and it makes it a lot better. Now this reverse grip is very comfortable because you have this nice rounded spot right here and a nice generous flat spot, semi-guard right there in that choil. And as you could see earlier, you can get a nice stab into some wood, make a feather stick or whatever you need to do with it, and it'll be nice and comfortable. Let's talk about the deployment in action. Like I said, it's a thumb stud deployer, axis lock, or their X-Lock is what they're calling it. It's riding on cage ceramic bearings. Very, very smooth out of box, nice and snappy, and it has a good pullback to it. You can also use the crossbar to deploy it. You can reverse flick, and same with the Tonto. Your lockup, no movement up or down, left or right on mine. The Tonto, after doing all the stupid stuff, rock solid. Now, the things I did at the end with the Tonto, I do it so you don't have to. That would probably void your warranty. I just like to show that it can handle that kind of stuff, or at least I was hoping it would. But if you don't have to do it with yours, I wouldn't do it. Quick size comparison, it's in the middle of the Ontario Rat 1 and 2, closest to the Rat 2. And it's very similar in length to the CJRB Pyrite and the CJRB Lyrid. And lastly, it's just a hair shorter than the Kaiser Mini Momo and a good bit bigger than the Civivi Elementum 2. Now, being that absolutely no knife's perfect, one of my nitpicks complaints, the biggest thing of all, no lefty love. I would have also liked to see fine cut jimping rather than spaced out jimping, even though this one functions perfectly fine. It's not uncomfortable enough to not be used. Fine cut jimping always, in my opinion, works better and it's a lot more comfortable. And lastly, even though you can see the plunge grind comes down about right there. You can have tons of sharpening life. It's always nice to see the plunge grind brought all the way back here. This is the drop point. The Tonto, you even have more room to sharpen. So like I said, just a minor nitpick because you should look at all that. You got a lot of sharpening room on the Tonto before you have to worry about it thickening up on you hitting that plunge grind. So is it really an issue? Not really. And next, that brings me to the price. I had to think about this in comparison to some other knives. These come in at $80. You got a $5, I think, pre-order price, then you pay the remainder whenever they come in. So I was looking through my collection of knives, kind of similar. So you have first the Civivi Sentinel Strike. It's a little bit bigger, but you have the aluminum, and then you have this FRN back strap right there. This one's a Bowler K110. Pretty much the same exact steel. The Sentinel Strike comes in at $85, $5 more. Definitely comparable in performance. So you have the Beg Knives Quaken in aluminum and D2, and this one runs $105. A little bit bigger. This is a much more beefier solid knife than the Quaken. Then you have the SOG Diverge with a crossbar lock, aluminum and D2 steel. A little bit smaller of a knife. More of a performer than a heavier user. That Diverge comes in at $65. I don't think it's anywhere near the degree of quality on the Chaves personally. And then last we have the Kershaw Iridium D2 contoured aluminum. It comes in at $67. So it's a cheaper knife, but The crossbar lock tension on these, in my opinion, is a lot better than the Iridiums. So what are my final thoughts on the Blade HQ exclusive Chaves Redencion? I've always thought this original design, you know, somewhat original, just the silhouette of it, was a really cool looking, and in my opinion, iconic knife design from him. And I've always wanted to get my hands on a Chaves. I've done some mod work to a couple of them back in the day when I had my shop, but I've never owned one, and I don't think I've ever reviewed one on the channel. It was awesome to finally be able to not only get one, but to put it through its paces the OG way too. Did y'all enjoy that? It's been a while, huh? Now real quick, this is the Tonto that we beat the snot out of. Let's see if I got any damage. You know, of course, it's going to be dull in those areas. I mean, most budget knives would be, but there's no like crazy chips or dents. Just some blunting. That's about it. I don't know about y'all, but I think that's pretty darn impressive. And I've had that kind of luck with a lot of D2 that I've tested. And with the drop point, as soon as I got done with all the testing, I want to see how it sharpened up. That also gives me a good indication on how good the heat treat is on it, on how cleanly it deburrs and stuff like that. And I thought it sharpened up really, really well. I was able to get it screaming sharp, left it with a coarser edge on it. I think I stopped at 600 grit, then stropped it with 12 micron and then 3 micron and 1, I think, just to get it sticky sharp. Yeah, grabbing skin right away. So yeah, I love it. Can I recommend it? Absolutely. I think the testing alone speaks for itself. And that's going to do it for today's video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave those down below and I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every single one of y'all is having a fantastic day today. And remember, keep those blades sharp. Smile more.